Welcome to Calvary Baptist Church. This is Pastor Billy Sutherland. And before we do anything else, let's open in prayer. Father, thank you so much for your love. Thank you for the privilege we have of being in your house. God, I pray that you just guide everything that we do and say. In Jesus' name, amen. So, housekeeping matters. Restrooms are right across the hall. That's all the housekeeping matters we need. School board meetings I've been attending since December. How are you doing? Good to see you. Texas Church Leaders was involved in this. Along the way, somebody called us angry pastors of rich white churches. That's kind of a weird thing. We wanted to focus on, the pastors wanted to focus on the spiritual things, so we created a pack called Let Our Teachers Teach. LetOurTeachersTeach.org is the website for that. Pastors can focus on the spiritual stuff, and then the pack can focus on the school board and other issues. From our meeting Sunday afternoon, the kind of summary was, okay, now what do we do? So here's the audio from that, the talking points.
BISD has a survey concerning the hiring of a new superintendent. Let them know what you think. Here are some alarming facts. BISD is approaching $5 million in debt, yet they're spending an additional $8,000 to hire an outside firm to recruit a new superintendent, on top of the $15,000 already being spent on dues and other lobbying groups. We continue to spend money we do not have and simply blame the state. Teachers are leaving at an alarming rate. Average daily attendance, upon which funding is based, is decreasing. Our academic scores are declining. Discipline is a major problem. We are teetering on dropping from a B-rated school district to a C. If this concerns you and you want to make a difference, here are two things you can do. One, attend a strategy meeting this Saturday morning at Calvary Baptist Church, located on Niebuhr Street across from the junior high. That meeting is 9 a.m. And go to LetOurTeachersTeach.org for more information and a link to the survey.
So we will be getting a new superintendent. The school board has already selected TASB as the head of that search. A lot of us were opposed to that, but that's what we have. We need to let TASB know in their surveys that we're not thrilled about that, if that's in case your position on it. The board chose TASB to do a nationwide search, and my question, and the question I'm getting from all over the place, is do we really want somebody from outside of Texas or New York City or Los Angeles or we've had people from outside who come here and they pad their resumes, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They just are here for a little while, they get some experience, and then they move to a bigger school district for more money, or somebody who comes here to retire. We need a superintendent that's going to stay here and really get involved and put their heart and soul in it. So TASB will be collecting input. It's crucial to let them know what you think. Miss Natalie is here. She's the president of the school board. Natalie, if at any point you'd like to address that'd be fine. We really have great candidates in Washington County. One of the ones that I've been bringing up is Dr. Heather Thielemann. She was involved in so many aspects of BISD with game changers and other things. I have talked to her. She would be thrilled to death to be here. She makes way more money than we're paying for a superintendent as executive vice president at Sam Houston University. But that doesn't matter. She would love to be here and be our superintendent. So the board is going to be doing an online, in fact, there already is an online survey. You can get to it from TASB's website, you can get from the BISD website, or you can get to it from LetOurTeachersTeach.org. And then we have a resources tab there. Those of you who were at the Sunday meeting wanted to know, where do we get a copy of this, or where do we find that? So there's actually, at the top there, under strategy, you'll see resources, and that's where we will keep everything. You could even get to the survey from there. So the survey right now on our LetOurTeachersTeach.org, bottom right corner, if you click the superintendent survey, there it is. They have some pre-made questions. What do you consider to be the 3 or most significant strengths of the district? You can put whatever you want to in there. If you think that there are challenges, this is up to you to put whatever you want. Our district is in trouble and we need strong leadership we can trust. I'm not telling you to write that. I'm just saying you can answer however you want to. The next one is, what do you consider to be 2 or 3 most important issues or concerns or challenges? And falling test scores, debt, discipline. Discipline is the one that I hear over and over and over again. Almost every conversation I have with somebody about our school district, it's discipline comes up. Discouraged teachers, they're leaving. They're discouraged. Too much admin bloat is another one that I hear frequently. And then what professional personal characteristics should you look for in the next superintendent? I'm going to recommend not TASB. I don't think we need a TASB superintendent. We don't want somebody just to come here and build a resume and move on or retire. We want somebody who's actually going to invest their lives and their hearts here in the district. So school board meeting this Monday is to discuss the TASB contract. Monday night, 18th at 6 p.m. We want to try our best to get the school board to fire TASB. Same old faces all the time is what I've been hearing, and I'm sure that the school board, every time they see me spoken, oh no, here he comes again. You know, there's some of us that are just constantly there, and we need some new fresh faces. We need somebody else to come and show up in force. You can speak up concerning our next superintendent of schools. Again, there's the resources. Show up at the school board meeting Monday night. Introduce yourself to trustees. They're not scary and they're not mean. Sometimes I just walk around and talk to them. Jared and Natalie are always, matter of fact, all of them are pretty well open to just walk up and talk to them. And we don't want to be mean to them. We don't want to be ugly to them. We just want to simply say, hey, this is what we think. This is what we think we want. Tell them you want to dump TASB. Tell them you do not want a TASB superintendent. Fill out the survey. Attend meetings for input. So there is our resources tab. Excuse me just a minute. There's our resources tab. So you can take the survey from there. Texas in Excellence brochure that you're going to see this morning that we're going to get a revised copy. Anything that that we say and you say we want to see the documentation for that, we'll be glad to add that to the resources here. If there's anything here that you challenge that maybe it wasn't, let us know and we'll revise it. The schedule for community input is there also. I might have added it after I took this screenshot. Yeah, attend a community involvement. So that actually has the schedule of meetings, and there are a number of meetings for different aspects of the community, so avail yourselves of that. So without further ado, Catherine Vanderpool, it's all yours. Let me turn on that microphone. Yes. Come on up here, Natalie, and that's fine.
Thank you. Good morning. I just wanted to say on the school board hiring TASB to run the superintendent search, we needed a search firm to do that, to handle that. That's something that with the resumes, the applications coming in, with the community input, we wanted to make sure that we could hear from you. And that's something that the school board, we all work full time and have jobs. That's not something that we have time to do. That's quite an undertaking. So that had to be run by someone professional. It is nationwide, but that's just because they will accept applications nationwide. I've been on the board for 10 years. We've never interviewed someone from out of state. So, and we have the same concerns that y'all have, that you've listed. These are all priorities for the district, things as a parent. I have kids in the school district. I have the same concerns and desires for my children that you all have for your kids and grandkids. I'm here if I can answer any questions. There's a few things listed. The declining enrollment, that's not technically true. We have increasing enrollment, but we just haven't recovered from the COVID year. So we declined that 1 year, and then the recovery has just been gradual. So anyway,
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Yes?
Why do we need somebody from outside? I don't understand that. Other school districts
Okay, we're going to cover all that. I mean, you can
For
address it.
superintendent or for the search?
to investigate and find somebody to do that.
It just takes a lot of time. We're having 12, huh?
Harder is to do that, I would think.
And with all due respect, we do give so much time, but to run 12 meetings for the public and to organize all of that, we need somebody to do it. It's not something,
Somebody from outside, though, that select somebody.
they don't select.
Do you
All
want
they do
to
is
hang around afterwards and
organize.
still answer questions?
Yeah,
Because we don't want to
absolutely.
take all this time.
Yes, and I'm going to the parade after this,
Oh, okay.
so please, if.
But she is
if I have to
accessible.
go, yeah, I'm accessible. You can call me or email me.
So you gathered they gathered the data.
Yes,
You all
Absolutely.
You'll
They
see
do not-
everything that
We
they-
see every single one. If there's one that is an outlier that maybe has been mentioned, we will see that and have access to it. And they do not tell us who to interview. They organize the applications and they say, this is the experience that they have, and then we select. It's all the board, but they organize it for us, and that is something, again, it's a time thing, it's a confidentiality thing, it has nothing to do with we need them to choose. Every time a school district hires a superintendent, they're gonna have different needs at that time, and our needs right now are very specific, and I think we're on the same page. So it's not that TASB is choosing anyone for us. They are simply the ones that are organizing what we get.
So, real quick, so that we can continue.
Sure.
If somebody like Heather Tillman put her application in, you're not obligated to pick somebody from TASB. You can pick somebody else that didn't come.
No, and they're not, TASB is the school board members. It's not superintendents. So yes, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is actually a question for Natalie.
Last one, and then we need to get rolling.
You just said that we're on the same page. If that were true, why would this group be here? Seriously. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, how can
Okay.
you say that when you have a group of people, you're here for a reason, right? We're here, clearly we have a different point of view than you do, so we're not on the same page.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not trying to be controversial, but that's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say that you're concerned about discipline and I'm concerned about discipline, I feel like we're on the same page. Can I fix every student that comes through the doors as a board member? I can't. And you can't in that seat either. But it's a concern and a priority. So I just meant that we have the same concerns.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the search firm, when I went to the board meeting where we were talking about that, I was dead set against it. After the first presentation, there were 3 presentations of organizations who would do the search. After the first presentation, first I was adamantly opposed to it. After her presentation, I was sold, and I even went out in the hallway and said, hey, before you spoke, I thought they ought to do it. And then there was another presentation that I felt was a little weaker, and there was TASB's presentation that, in my personal opinion, was the worst of the 3. And TASB was hired to do the search when there were 2 other options. So on that, we're not on the same page at all. I think if there should have been a search firm, it could have been the one that was less money and sounded a whole lot more like our values. So without further ado, Catherine, if you'll.
Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me?
It's green. Oh, Derek took a break.
Okay. Oh, now I can hear myself, so I guess y'all can hear me. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad y'all are here. And Natalie, thank you for coming. Do we have any other elected officials here? I know we have a wannabe elected official. We have Derek here, who's running for DA. So anyway, I want to just briefly introduce a couple people, and then I'm going to come back. But first, I just want to kind of go over a couple things. Suzanne is not here today because she's on vacation, so she asked me to take her place. And I wanted to know, is there anyone here who is leaving for the parade? Okay, if y'all are leaving and you all want the guidance that we're going to be doing probably afterwards, just put a star on the sign-out sheet, and I will be contacting you, and I'll go over everything that you missed, okay? So, all right. So first of all, at the last meeting, we had a young lady volunteer to help us with communication. So I just want to quickly introduce Billy. So Billy's in the back. Billy Fowler. And so she's the one that's been sending your emails, and she's been helped y'all with the registration this morning. And then the next person I want to introduce is going to do a presentation for us. This happened kind of at the last minute, and it was the grace of God that she said yes, because she lives all the way in Deer Park. Her name is Melissa Martin, And as I said, how many of y'all were here last week? I want to know how many. Okay. And so how many of you here are for the first time? Okay. So my name is Catherine Vanderpool. We moved here a couple years ago, but I am on the board for a school in Houston called Heritage Classical Academy. It's a newly approved charter school, and we had quite a fight to get our charter, and a lot of the opposition came from TASB, no surprise. So when we were hiring our head of school, we hired a young lady from Deer Park, and found out after we hired her that she worked with a group, she founded a group with 2 other people called Innovative Teachers of Texas. And she's going to explain who that is in just a moment. But I want to introduce you to my friend, our head of school, and the founder of Innovative Teachers of Texas, Melissa Martin.
Thank you. That was a really nice introduction. I appreciate that. Okay, so I was asked to come and talk to you guys about TEE. And I said, well, I'm not technically with TEE. I co-founded, along with 2 other members, the Innovative Teachers of Texas. We did that 4.5 years ago. And just a little bit of history about what that's about. There were a group of us here in Texas that we were very unhappy with the way the teacher unions, the direction that they were taking education, because they were taking us down a very progressive direction that we were not comfortable with. There are a lot of teachers in the state, and actually all over the country, that have traditional values. And we felt like we needed to have an organization that represented us, because we are not represented by the others, that if we have traditional values. So we founded IT Texas, short for Innovative Teachers of Texas. And about a year ago, we have members all over the state, even though we were very grassroots. I remember when we got our first member in El Paso, and down in McAllen, I almost fell over, because there's just a hunger, because there are a lot of us who want to protect our traditional values in the classroom. And so about a year ago, someone approached me and said, Melissa, we have a problem, because we have school board members that are being trained only by TASB, and some of the things that they're being trained in are not in line with community values, with parent values, and with a lot of the teacher values. So we said, well, what can we do to help? And they said, well, go through the process so that you can become an authorized provider. So a group of us with Innovative Teachers of Texas did that, and so myself, and there are several of us that are authorized providers, Todd Taylor, one of my colleagues, also. And so we started helping to train school board trustees in a way that does not go against community or parent values. And even if you are progressive in the way that you think, our training still doesn't go against that, because we believe in protecting parent rights, okay? And so I'm going to show you some of the information from TEE, just because that's who we partner with, because when a school district decides to use TEE for their services rather than TASB, then the training piece, they go ahead and send them to us. So that's the only piece that we take care of. So we're just kind of partnering. I'm not with TEE, but I can talk to you a little bit about the services they provide. So if you look, let's see, the big things with TEE, and that's with IT Texas also, is we don't believe in indoctrination, and we also, because we're fiscal conservatives, we believe in respecting taxpayers. We think that's really important, okay? So there are different things that TASB has been offering for years, and they're important services, okay? And so TEE can offer those same services. With policy, one of the things about TASB that people don't necessarily realize is they won't always put things out there that make them controversial. Sometimes they do. For instance, there are guidelines that probably a lot of you have seen about our students who fall under the LGBT plus, I don't even know all the acronyms. Those students, TASB put out a policy about how that should be handled. And that goes against what a lot of parents and community members believe, but also those of us who have traditional values in the classroom. It goes against our convictions and our values. And so, you know, that one was very boldly put out there that people can see. But sometimes TASB also just holds things back. For instance, I can't remember the exact number. I feel like it's House Bill 3979. It was the bill that has to do with CRT and teaching the Constitution. Okay, so that TASB didn't even put that in local policy for school boards to even have out there. So it's almost like, okay, they don't put anything out there saying, well, yeah, you should be able to teach CRT and you shouldn't have to teach the Constitution, but they withhold it. And so it's the same as, you know, really what the media does with picking and choosing what they present to us, okay? And so those are some of the things that you need to understand, that, you know, TASB sometimes plays those sort of games. But the board management tools, the training, like I said, that piece is taken care of by Innovative Teachers of Texas with our trainers. But then they also have the human resource services, all of these that are on the slide, okay? So they provide an awful lot of services, but they do it in a way that's more respectful to taxpayers. When you're looking at legal policy, that's really where a lot of community members struggle when they see some of the policy that TASB has put out, okay? And then also in the training. I think, is the video going to be shown? Okay, so you'll see where in their training sometimes as voters, you'll be like, okay, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, okay? And that's where you might give thought to how you will hold your board members accountable and understand that while, yes, they have to take care of the district, they are accountable to the voters, okay? Because you guys are in the community, and what we produce as far as the education in the school building, it has a direct impact on the community. It doesn't just impact that individual student and that family. It impacts the entire community. That's why voters have a voice in selecting your school board members. So these are just some of the things that you can access when you look at there's just too much, and I'm not going to read this to you because you guys can find it. Yeah, you can look on the resource tab and you can find all of that information. And I do want you to also be aware that the teachers that you have in your school district, they don't have to go to the progressive unions or organizations. We don't call them unions here in Texas because we don't have collective bargaining, but they're still affiliated with national unions a lot of times. But even the state associations, they can be very, very progressive. Your teachers don't have to turn to them for their professional liability insurance. That's another thing that our group, that's what we originally were created, so that they would have an alternative. And that's why TEE was created, so that districts such as yours that have traditional values, you don't have to look to TASB to take care of the needs, okay? A group that's pushing a progressive agenda. So do you guys have any questions? Yes?
Why would we have TASB if they're so progressive?
They're not. I really disagree. There's not the policy that you talked about the LGBT or the transgender, it was not policy. It was legal guidance that is strictly based on cases that have been tried, so that if a district has an issue come up with one of those students, which
Okay, can we take this conversation elsewhere, because we need to move on. We're on a schedule, and I'd like to know if there are any other questions for Melissa. And we welcome more questions from Melissa. She came all the way from Deer Park here, so, I mean, I'm not trying to shorten the Q&A, but.
Thank you for the presentation.
Okay, yes, let's thank Melissa, please. All right, thank you very much. Yeah. All right, okay, so today we are planting seeds. We're planting seeds of knowledge for you. And we hope you will take from that and grow and bear good fruit. So what I want to talk about, well, first of all, I just want to tell you a funny story. Yesterday, were y'all here when that thunderstorm blew through? Well, that was right after Melissa had agreed to come speak. So I texted Pastor Billy and I said, do you think God's sending me a message? And he said, I said, do you think this is a sign of God's favor? And he said, always. So anyway, I was very glad that Melissa could come speak and educate you about tea. So our goal for you when you leave here is to know why you need to come on Monday, how to speak to your family and friends intelligently about some of these issues. And if you are going to speak on Monday, give you some ideas about what you can say. And if you can't come or speak, remember you can always write. On the back of your agenda are the email addresses for all the board members. Also, please remember to go to the BISD website, as Pastor Billy has said, and write your comments about what characteristics you want to see in our next superintendent. You may already have a good idea, but hopefully we're going to give you some more. And just remember, when you come, we want everyone to be polite and professional and respectful, and be concise. Write an outline before you come speak. Know what you're going to say. Consider ending your time with the point that we choose to have public education in our culture, in our society, and in Brenham, because how well educated everybody is affects the entire community. I want you all to keep in mind that public comments are restricted to 30 minutes. Is that correct? Yes. So each speaker has up to 3 minutes. So that means that you can speak for 1, 2, or 3 minutes. We're going to try to get everybody there by 5:30 to sign up. So that means we'll probably have room for 9 to 10 speakers. And the other thing I would say is when you sign in, remember, Cubs is an information group. We are providing you information. You are not a member of Cubs. So when you sign in, you can sign in as an individual, as a taxpayer, Washington County, however you want, but just sign in as yourself. And also I want you to know that Suzanne and I will not be there for public comment. Suzanne is on vacation, and I am going to be speaking in Caldwell, Texas, to a group of churches and teachers about the Constitution. I made this speaking engagement months ago before this all came up, but I will be there before the end of the meeting. So, how many of you know that you want to speak? Okay. How many of you already know I want to speak on Monday night? Okay. And you don't have to decide right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief overview. I'm not going to repeat any of the slides that Suzanne showed you. I've got new slides. But I'm going to give you a brief overview, and then we're going to break up into 5 groups, and then y'all will work on talking points, and then we'll come back together, and then y'all can practice. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay. All right. First of all, let me go through this overview. All right. And I'm not really very technical, so Pastor Billy, stand by. Oh.
I'm going to head out.
Okay.
Thank y'all so
Okay.
much.
All
I'll
right.
see y'all Monday.
Okay.
TASB will be there to answer questions at the meeting. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Okay, so we are Cubs, Citizens United for Brenham Schools. Our partners are Texas Church Leaders, Let Our Teachers Teach, Texas Heritage Event Center, Calvary Baptist Church, Champion Fellowship, and you already know who the organizers are. Our goals, we have 3 goals: hire a local superintendent, fire TASB, and try T. Okay, I thought that sounded pretty cute. Hire local, fire, try. All right. So why do we want to hire a local superintendent? Well, we have qualified people in our county, as Pastor Billy's already told us. Someone local who knows our community. And that's one of about three, not the only one. Okay. And I've heard good things about David Yeager when he was superintendent. I don't know if he can be drafted into the pool, but I heard he was an excellent superintendent many years ago. Someone local knows our community and is more likely to share our values. A local superintendent is likely to be more loyal to the students and parents in the community, and a local hire is going to be invested here for the long term. They're not building a resume, as Pastor Billy said, for a career move. And if you have a good local superintendent, this strengthens your community, and I can't emphasize that enough. Why not hire a TASB superintendent? Let me just say something about TASB that wasn't brought up by our board president. They are going to be recruiting from their membership. So most of the candidates that they will provide you are going to be from TASB. TASB dues are paid by the board trustees, and those monies are not paid out of their personal checking accounts. They come out of taxpayer dollars. All of the meetings, all of the guidance, everything TASB provides, the district has to pay for, and all of that is your taxpayer money. Just remember that. Well, $15,000 would include the membership, what they call the board book, and it would not include the insurance. So it includes, $15,000 covers like two of the three main things. So I don't know what they pay for the insurance.
That does not include this selection?
No, that's on top. That's about $7,800 to $8,000. Good question. Yeah. So, and then get this, when they do their board training, they pay. They go in person. They're wined and dined at the finest restaurants and hotels on your tax dollars. T does not do that. Okay? Just something else. Yes?
You said something about the school board has a book that has.
Yes. Yes, the school board gets. So think about this. You're elected as a board trustee. What do you know about the Texas law regarding schools? Nothing. So is the Texas legislature going to say, hey, come on, Ms. Zamora, let me come teach you about all the new laws we just passed? No. So TASB was created to help board trustees, to help citizens know how to enforce the laws of the Texas legislature and the administrative code, which is the TEA. You need that as a board trustee, otherwise you'd just be flying blind. So what was said here by Melissa was a very good point. They don't always tell you parts of the law that are actually things you might want your trustees to enact. Okay? All right. So why not hire a TASB superintendent? Think about this. We're hiring in December. Teacher contracts, superintendent contracts typically go through a school year. So what decent superintendent is going to want to come in the middle of the year? Heather Tillman, who was mentioned here, she has an entirely different job. She's not ever been a superintendent. She would be coming into this having to get her superintendency certificate, which is possible. We're going through that with Melissa right now so that she can get her superintendent certification. It's possible, it's very doable. But she's motivated very differently than the way a TASB superintendent would be. So, last two superintendents we hired were named top 5 superintendents, top 5 finalists. These were people that were nominated to TASB through letters of recommendation and said they should be named Superintendent of the Year. So both Chapman and his predecessor were considered top 5. Where has that gotten us financially? Where has that gotten us on our student academics? Okay, so here are the results of having had a TASB superintendent. And by the way, this PowerPoint is already on the resource tab. So everything you have here, you see here, you don't have to take notes, it's all there. So this is an important point. We are at 4.6 million. I've been told by one of the trustees that number is going to rise, get closer to 5 million deficit. Now, granted, it's not as bad as Cyprus that has a $109 million deficit. But it's bad because we're a small community. And how are we going to get that? We have the money in the savings, I'm told, but then that puts the revenue requirements below acceptable under state law. So what do you do about that? So one solution was, well, we have a land lease they get income on, $100,000 to $300,000 a year. It helps fund both Burton and it helps fund Brenham ISD. Well, why don't we just sell it? We could get that money and then we could pay down our deficit. So the commissioners manage that. And Don Kester is opposed to doing it, but he did go ask, and he talked to some of the other commissioners and the judge, and they said, this board is not financially responsible. We are not going to sell that land lease. We've had that land lease, Commissioner Kester says, since the late 1800s. We're one of the last school districts in the entire state to have such a gift. We're not going to sell it for this.
Isn't that income coming in as opposed to a one-time sale?
Yes, so we get $100,000 to $300,000. I'm not sure of the exact number because I've heard both. It may vary, but that's income coming in every year, as opposed to, and that the value of that is just going to get more valuable in the future. Okay, so more results of a TASB superintendent. Teachers are suffering low morale. We have resources on the resource tab of Let Our Teachers Teach that give you all kind of quotes from all kind of teachers about what they think about what's going on. 32% of the dollars we spend on teacher salaries are for substitutes. Why do we have so much dedicated to substitutes? Absenteeism, staffing shortages, this does not help morale. And it doesn't help student discipline. You know how kids are with substitute teachers. Yeah. So we are 1 percentage point away from becoming a C district. We're at an 80. Now I will tell you that next month, the school scores will come out. This past week, the STAR test results came out. So TEA kind of dribbles everything out over time, and it's a little bit hard to decipher. So, but right now, as of 22, we are a B- district. 60% of our students score below grade level. So we can talk about STAR tests. If you are interested in trying to understand the reports, I have them with me. I'll be happy to go over them with you, but just understand this. Our students are not, for the most part, meeting grade level. Okay? Yeah.
On that, 2 schools are C-rated now. Is that only 2 schools in both state?
No, that is in Brenham. Two of our schools are Brenham. And I brought all the TEA reports on that, and then we're going to get those loaded up on the resource tab so y'all will have access to them, but I'm happy to let people look at them and study them. And then if you look at our African American population, it's really heartbreaking. Barely 17% of them are on grade level for reading or math. So this is a big problem, and the TASB superintendents that we've had cover like the last decade, right? At least the last 6 or 7 years, something like that. Okay, so why fire TASB? Well, they use a cookie cutter approach. They call it the team of 8. So they want all the votes to be 7-0. They don't want anybody to be in disagreement. They want them to follow the superintendent and do what the superintendent recommends, even though it's their job to hire and hold the superintendent accountable. They basically told, you're not smart enough to know everything you need to know about school stuff. In fact, you don't even really need to know stuff about school. You just need to be the greatest cheerleader and do what the superintendent tells you. That's kind of making fun of their training, but that is the message. And I'm going to show you a brief 1-minute video here. And you can see the other points. TASB is an arm of enforcement. We talked about this last week. Department of Education sends out policies. The National School Board gets those policies. They distribute them to the state school board, which is TASB, and then TASB implements them at the district level. So it's a cookie-cutter approach. And we have almost 1,300 districts here. And TASB, this is not also told to you. You were made to think, well, there are no superintendent. Well, TASB's made up of former superintendents, according to State Board of Education member Tom Maynard, and I talked to him last week, and that's what he told me. It's a good old boys network of former superintendents. Here's the video.
So, this is where it becomes important to make a distinction between when you're in an elected position as a trustee versus a regular public official who gets voted into office. So, when you think about that general rule, we were elected by the voters, by our constituency, and we need to do what they think is important and the reasons why they elected us. And that may be the case, but trustee is an exception. You're not just purely a voter representative. You're not a mouthpiece for the constituents who elected you. You are there to act for the benefit of the school district. So we don't want to confuse the method of selection, i.e. being voted into office, with what your duties and obligations are as a trustee, okay?
You know, can I say something?
You bet.
That right there has been a major frustration for all of us. Within the last year and a half or so, 2 years, we have regularly been attacked as we've been in meetings by the public demanding that we do certain things because we were elected to be here and we are to do what they say. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah. That's a hard message to get across, but you're exactly right. Because what's in the
And that's it. So what TASB's training them is to say, look, you just need to be loyal to the school district. And to my way of thinking, when they say that, they don't mean children. They mean the adults, you know, the central administrative office. So you just heard him say, well, yeah, that's a hard thing. You got to deal with those taxpayers. Well, man, I don't know. Okay. Okay, this is something new that I didn't know until this week. So remember that guidance, the legislative guidance that I was telling you about that TASB provides. Well, in June of this year, they had a 400-page document. In that 400-page document was expanded language or an expanded definition of Title IX. Now, this is a great example of what I was talking about, from the DOE to the National School Board to the state to Brenham. So let's take a look at what this reads. And I know it's a little hard to read, so I'm just going to read the yellow part out loud. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights has issued a formal interpretation that discrimination on the basis of sex under Title IX includes discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So this was put into the Title IX by the Biden administration, and it has not been passed by Congress, and it hasn't even been it hasn't been adopted by the DOE because it takes an act of Congress to pass legislation, right? So in that 400-page document, TASB Legal Update 121, 400 pages that the board, not the board, the group of five, because Archer and Hafner vetoed it, they maybe unwittingly, or maybe not, maybe it's their plan, approved this language, and that is on the Brenham ISD website right now. So according to Julie Pickren, who is another State Board of Education member, and I spoke to her last week, she said this revised language of Title IX is only proposed language. It's not legislation approved by Congress. And therefore, she says, TASB is promoting policies that are a violation of federal law. Okay, last reason to fire TASB. It's a taxpayer-funded lobbying group. And this is the one that hurt our school the most, because at Heritage Classical Academy, the first school to be affiliated with Hillsdale, we had a target on our back for that reason. And TASB came after us in a lot of ways. And I learned when I learned they were taxpayer funded, I was just like, what? Taxpayers are funding this kind of stuff? So not only do they lobby against charter schools and school choice, they also have lobbied very actively against for recapture. Do you all understand what recapture is? Okay, so we pay our property tax dollars, our school tax dollars, and then the state says, okay, well, you're so wealthy, we're not going to give you that much state funds. In fact, we're going to take some of yours to help the lower income school districts. That's called Robin Hood by nickname. You may have seen in the news that Spring Branch School District unanimously voted to keep their $82 million recapture check last month. So they're in protest. So we, I think, pay about anywhere from 75% of the child's education, and the state reimburses us somewhere between 15 and 25%. So we're in that same boat as Spring Branch. And TASB lobbies for this situation.
So are you saying we only get 15 to 25% of our own money back?
Yes, that's it. And I'll just say this about TASB, it's not in a slide, but they push superintendents and school districts to build buildings and issue bonds. That's another way they make money. Okay, I'm probably going to get sued for this presentation. Okay, what was that? Okay, all right. So I would say fire those who support TASB. We need to get rid of them. So far, only Carroll ISD has officially left TASB. There are several school districts are in the contemplation stage that are serious about leaving. But, Brennan was the first school district of Texas, and it was the best. So I expect leadership out of this county. That's why I moved here. So the TASB superintendent, in our opinion, should leave now. He was supposed to retire at the end of the year, but why keep him? What good is he doing right now? I don't think he's helping us. Okay, you've already heard the T presentation. I just want to emphasize that it's a no-risk option. It is going to be an item of agenda on Monday night. Kyle Hafner added it to the agenda to add TASB. They are not charging any fees their first year, and the second year it'll be 50%. So it's a no-risk option, so they can kind of gradually pull out of TASB since they already approved the insurance, or at least the group of 5 approved the insurance, and then ease their way out, but they can actually be members of both. They can see the board policies that T offers and compare and contrast and decide, really like, okay, this is really a better thing. So, and T does not lobby. That's important to me, just from my own personal experience, but I think it's important, worth mentioning, and they're not political. So, And then I want to just end with this from Senator Lois Kolkhorst. I'll have to read a little bit of that because the bottom print is small. She was in Austin testifying at a committee on TASB this summer, and she was saying that it was really that they do a kind of indoctrination of groupthink. And then here's the quote. Here's what I find when I deal with some school board members, the indoctrination. You're supposed to tell your lawmakers you're supposed to tell your lawmakers that we need more money and less regulation. But in fact, when they come back from TASB training, their personalities have completely changed. She says, I'm going to look very closely at the indoctrination and the training of these school board members. I mean, we're independent school districts, right? We're not supposed to be groupthink. So to sum it up, we want to hire local, we want to fire TASB, and we want to try T. Yeah.
So T is pretty new. Do you have any indication from folks that have used them, what the results are?
Yes. Last week, we had one of the trustees from Carroll ISD. You can Google their website. All their meetings are public, and you can watch their school board meetings and learn about their conversations about TASB. But he was zoomed in here, and he did about a 30-minute presentation with us. Cameron Bryan. And he was excellent, and he answered everyone's questions. And, it's scary because TASB's been around since 1949. And TASB didn't always used to be this way. And so it's hard to leave because it's like you're so used to it. But it's the problem, and we keep trying to show you all the problems. And so we have to have courage. God tells us to not be afraid. 365 times in the Bible. Okay, yes.
I think it's important that we realize that TASB has been very much involved in selecting our last two superintendents. Am I correct?
Yes.
And what were the results of that? Were they good or bad?
Well, I just put them up there. So we have lower academic performance, $4.6 million in debt, 2 failed bond elections. I didn't mention that, but is something else you can add. So, I mean, the track record is not good.
That's actually not true. TASB did not hire Tyler. We had a private search firm hire Tyler.
Okay, but he was the top 5. He was a top 5 TASB superintendent.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yeah. Okay, so this is the resource tab. So I'm going to explain what we're going to do now. I'm happy to take a couple more questions, but we're going to break up into groups. So, yes, sir.
Natalie did make a good point that we need to address. And first of all, turn your mic on, Natalie. First I have to put it on. First of all, I was impressed that Natalie showed up. I missed a tremendous opportunity when I didn't tell her, you have exactly 3 minutes. But she did make a good point. It is not a TASB superintendent. So we're going to have to change our language. And she's correct about that. TASB's doing the search. We don't want anybody that they recommend. We don't want anybody they support. But the superintendent himself belongs to a whole different cabal. And there's all kinds of different organizations that mix together. So it's not a TASB superintendent. It's a superintendent that TASB would recommend.
Okay, everybody get that? Okay. The last one was not chosen through the search firm, a TASB search firm. It was chosen through a private search firm, but they were a top 5 finalist TASB superintendent. And the one before that was part of a TASB search firm.
What was the search?
The search firm is TASB.
Nobody actually even remembers, not even the board members who hired Tyler remember what the firm was.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you look for a superintendent, and that search is going on in the past or now, are you looking at, here's our problems, okay,
I don't know what their private deliberations are. On your agenda, on the back page, underneath the list of trustee addresses, I put a schedule at the bottom that gives you kind of an idea. We've got superintendent public comments. I think that's going to be at Made in Heaven on September 25th and 26th. That's where you get to go publicly speak. Then you can go on the website, as we've said. Then the deadline for superintendent applications is October 19th. And then the board was going to interview those applicants November 6th through the 8th. They're going to name a finalist on November 17th. And the last school board meeting before the end of the year is November 28th. So I guess that's when they would announce. Barbara?
I can address your question on September 25th and September 26th. The TASB team is going to be sitting at Must Be Heaven. They're asking community members to come in there and say, what do you want out of your superintendent? And then supposedly, I'm not protesting, so I don't trust them, but supposedly then they're going to take those comments. You want discipline, you want financial responsibility, those things that you're looking for. And they're going to then, if they get 50 applicants, they're going to look at the 50 and then give what they think is the top 15 for our community. So they do have the ability to then sift out those 35. And we had board members at the meeting say, don't give me 50 because I don't have time to look through all those.
Yeah, we did have the vice president said that.
Has there ever been a survey taken of the whole public as to what they want? Because, I mean,
This is it. This,
people than us,
this is what Natalie was telling you, is that the board doesn't have time to do this kind of survey or these kind of public meetings.
no, I mean, to
Oh, okay.
understand what the overall public wants. I mean, is there more?
No, there's no,
Is this why we don't get anywhere?
well, I don't know if they would listen to us anyway, because they've been brainwashed to think that their most important loyalty is to the school district, and at least the group of 5, not Archer and not Hafner, but they are told that their duty is to be loyal to the school district.
Yeah, so, excuse me, the 15, are they only allowed to hire within those 15 that TASB says, hey, these are good? No. Because they're not gonna show you the other applications.
So Barbara, you're saying that if they get 50, they're going to choose 15, and the board won't even see the other 35?
Correct. And then that was partially because the board said, we don't have time for that, we don't want it.
And just in case y'all didn't know, Barbara is the mother of one of the trustees, so so I think she's got a good source.
One final thing about that. Hopefully, that some of the qualifications will be someone with courage. It takes courage to hire the right principal
Yeah.
and make changes. I subbed at the high school for a year, and it was like, how about getting a way for a principal to enforce taking cell phones away from students?
Yes, a superintendent that won't allow cell phones. A superintendent that supports the board leaving TASB. I mean,
That totally disrupted the classes in high school. It was insane.
yeah,
Kids had cell phones. Just
right,
something like that.
right. And they don't have textbooks, they use Chromebooks, so, or their phone, yes. I mean, it takes courage, and so that would be an excellent quality.
If we're not gonna get a good candidate in the middle of the year, then why can't somebody local serve as an interim, and then you search for a good candidate and a normal?
I would say if we didn't have any good candidates, that might be a worthwhile, I mean, maybe that is a worthwhile thing. I'm not the one hiring them, but but we're told we've got at least three qualified candidates that live here, that have been well established here, that are well beloved by the community. Why not hire them? They're not going to be part of this machine, and that's what it is. It's a machine. What was that?
Archer is gonna specifically ask for those names to be in the 15.
Okay. And then I do want to say this, especially since Natalie has left, but no disrespect to her, but there is a possibility, because we didn't think TASB was going to be at the meeting, but now she's kind of aware of us. It is quite possible they will try to bring people in to sign in ahead of you. So I may be paranoid. I don't mean to be, and if I come across that way, I do apologize. I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm not trying to create strife. I am trying to help the school district have a better school. I got involved with this because I'm a trustee of a school, and I wanted to learn. And I wanted to come to Brenham ISD to learn how to be a trustee. And then I discovered this. So it's not a big mess. It is a mess, but it's fixable. You need good leadership. You need people that think like you. Okay, and then we're going to break up into groups. Okay, we've got a question in the back, and then a question in the middle, and then we're going to break into groups.
Catherine, do we know if it's possible, let's say they get 35 applications for superintendent, do we as a public get to see those applications?
Not at all. It's all private because remember, most of these people are still employed, and some school districts, if they thought their guy or gal was looking, they would say, "You're out the door. There it is."
Catherine,
Yeah,
may I say one thing?
absolutely, Pastor Tim. We're so glad you're here.
I just want to, I'm sorry I was late today. Billy and I have been a part of the community. Many of you know us for a long time. Many of our churches have been able to come together, be united for our school district. This is the first time, and we shared this with Natalie and 2 other board members, this is the first time that a superintendent has been able to pit the community against the school board. And so what I want to just make you aware of, we're not the extremists. We are the ones who are holding to traditional biblical Christian values. The extremists are on the other side. So we were caught off guard because when we were just doing what we normally do as pastors in our community, just holding the line, Dr. Chaplin all of a sudden used that in his school district email to pit the teachers against the churches. For the first time ever, because the churches were that was the group of people who stood with the school board, the school district, fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And this is what TASB's good at, okay? So I'm just warning you. You mentioned courage. The TASB superintendents are very courageous. They don't care what we think. I'll just tell you. So I want to just take the blinders off. We, in our pastor group, we encourage one another. This is a spiritual battle. So, yes. So I just want to remind you that, you know, you're a part of the community. Just let's go, community. Go. We're for our community. You just need to understand the spiritual battle you're in, and don't be surprised when people you think are just traditional, good old boys and gals. Don't be surprised when all of a sudden you find yourself put on the wrong side. All of a sudden. So I just want you to go in this eyes wide open, and we were taken by surprise. I do not want you taken by surprise. Okay, so that's all. I just want to encourage you. Stay in the fight. Thank you for being here. God bless you. It's the fight worth fighting. So.
This is a fight worth fighting, and this is a time as Christians we get to show what Christians are like in the public square.
I think it's very enlightening as to what Natalie said and her insistence that TASB did not push transgender and CRT. I mean, it was like she is totally sold on TASB.
Yeah.
We're in a battle.
We are in a battle, and I can refute a little bit what she said if you give me just a minute. So that's 13 pages. It's a lot of frequently asked questions of school boards. The document is on the resource tab, so y'all can read it. But when they go into the details of the answers, they're using a lot of mays, mights, you know, this could happen. And what bottom line is what they're telling the school boards, just cave. You're going to get sued. It's not worth it. Just cave.
Intimidation.
Yeah.
Do we know the value system that the school board members have? Who are they?
That's what you have to do when you nominate candidates to run for office. You got to find that out. And it's not just for school board. It's for the district attorney. It's for the mayor. It's for the city council. You need to find that out as citizens.
And vote.
And you have to go vote, but you need to go talk to them.
I totally understand that. I'm saying these people right here.
We don't know. I mean, you know by their behavior.
To answer your question, pardon me.
Yeah.
We did that. The Texas church leaders did that. We sent out questionnaires for them, the candidates, for this last school board election, and we were the bad guys for doing that. So that's why we need everyone to be involved in the process, and this is why, just in leadership of Brenham, we're asking more people to come to meetings, get involved. So there are options for us, and we've started that process, but we need more people to join in, because it just, you know.
And we had the answers on a side by
Yes.
side with the people who were running for each seat. They were side by side so that you could know what the person that has the seat right now was thinking and the person running against them was thinking.
Yeah, we just moved here.
Yeah, so, but that's part of us trying to get the awareness out there as well. So it's only been 1 year, I think, if that we've been together in meetings. So not to indict y'all or anyone else, but we're just ramping this up, and that's, Catherine, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I would venture to say that the ones that stayed on the board, if we didn't get voted off, are just good on the board. They've
Yeah.
been around for a while and everybody wanted them on, because one of them lost by a very small margin.
Yeah.
The one the guys we wanted him.
Yeah. And his, the Mr. Jans, is it David Jancy? David Jancy. Yeah, he's in the back of the room. He lost by 30 votes? 36 votes.
I think a lot of us, as we got older, we got complacent because our kids were out of school. I don't have children here or grandchildren. I didn't think I was gonna have to come back into another one of these flats like I did in Tomball. And not just the school district, but also the city council. We have to get others involved. Everybody has to understand. Don't be complacent, because they're gonna ram this down our throats. Because evil does not like to be confronted. And that's what they're doing to us.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yes, David, evil is trying to co-opt the organizations that are already there. We recognized this when they took over the Boy Scouts. Our two chapters of Rotary that has been around for 100 years. We dissolved it this last year because Rotary from the federal level has been co-opted and cramming stuff down all the local chapters' throats, and so we got out of it. So we got out of it. And all I'm saying is, just because something is happening from a federal level does not mean that we can't, at the local level, make a difference and say, hey, we choose not to do this anymore. Okay? And we've made our own club that is separate, and we're still going to take care of the community. That's what we're going to do, and here even. So.
Well, ultimately, our goal is to turn the group of 5 into the magnificent 7. So we do need to break up into groups because it's 10 after 10. And so let me tell you what the groups are going to be, and then I'll let Barbara ask her question. So we're going to break into 5 groups. So you have to think now what you want to do. If you want to write a talking point or help talk through someone who's going to write a talking point about hiring a local superintendent, you're going to be in this corner. If you're going to be in group 2 and you want to talk about firing TASB and trying out T, you're going to be in the back of this pew. If you're going to talk about teacher morale and staffing issues, and I've got all the resources on the website, so even though I didn't go over it in all these things in great detail today, I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk around to each group and show you where all the resources are. We'll be up here in front. Low academic performance will be in this pew, and mismanagement of financial funds will be over here, I have documents that I brought that are not yet on the resource tab for the low academics and the finances, if that's your interest. Okay, so we have one last question, then we're going to break into groups. Miss Billy's going to say something. Oh yeah, right here on the second pew, there are notepads. Yeah, so I'm going to give you like 10 minutes to formulate some thoughts, and then we're going to have volunteers come and share their ideas. So you all have some things, you know, to take away from some real practice. Okay, Barbara, I'll let you have.
This is actually a comment, and no offense to anybody in the room, take this for what it is. I've heard board members say, why do all these old people care? Where are the parents of these kids who are in the classroom? We want to hear from them. And so if any of you have children who have children in the school district, they need to get up there and speak at public comment. If they can't, because they have sports and dinner and bathing, and you know, that's why they don't come. I mean, if you remember
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I've heard that some of them are afraid to come because they're afraid their child will be retaliated against.
And that's exactly right, and that's why the teachers don't come either. But if you are a grandparent, then have something written that your child, who's an adult, the parent, has said, and read it if they can't come for themselves. They're busy.
Yes, and I would also say in your public comments, praise Archer, praise Hafner for standing strong. Make that part of your remarks. You've got a lot of ideas from the last two presentations that Suzanne and I have done, but I would urge you to say that because the other members need to hear it, and Archer and Hafner need to hear it too. They need to know that we actually noticed that they voted against all this stuff.
I want to follow up on that because that really is, that's what I was going to say anyway. Her son Archer, he gets beat up by some of the other board members. Kyle is a knucklehead, hard-headed, you know, he's going to make it, but Archer, he's kind of tender-hearted, and some of them are just cruel to him. It is ridiculous. So Archer needs our encouragement and our prayers, and both of them do, but particularly Archer, they don't treat him very nice at all. Isn't that correct? So
yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go in our groups for 10. Oh, wait. One more? Last one?
Sorry. And this all kind of points to what we also need to be thinking about after, you know, we deal with the superintendent thing, and I've kind of been wanting to scream it from the rooftops. We need to start getting people right now for the next school board members election. We need to be able to put support behind people to help out Archer, to help out Kyle, and everything like that, starting now. We need people now so we can start training them. Moms for America has programs that help like pre-train them. There are other programs that help pre-train them to work with the other members, to work against TASB and other things. You know, so we need people now, okay?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. We do need more candidates, and we also need to work on the ones we got, because we got them for 2.5 years.
And David Jancy back here, he had no name recognition as far as school board and all that kind of stuff. He came within 36 votes of beating a very highly respected, beloved member. I mean, I don't know, the school board should have said something.
Did anybody look into what it's going to take to get staggered election?
I've talked to Archer about that, because right now what we have is a 3-4 cycle, which means there's an off year. Advantage of that is it saves us money as taxpayers, because their elections are expensive. So other school districts have a 2-3 cycle, so there's election every year. Some people might say that creates a little board discontinuity because there's always new people coming on every year and people coming off. That's something that has to be worked out, but not today. So, but that is a board policy, just to answer your question.
I'd just like to say that we took our kids, most of them, one stayed in public, but we took them out to protect them.
Yeah, okay.
From what was going on.
Yeah.
And now they're all gone, but
Yeah, Moms for America.
more like that,
Yeah,
that teach you, you have to stand up for these kids in
right.
public school too.
And going to the meeting is just one thing. We're asking this one thing this one time. But if you know members of the school board, talk to them one-on-one. Have those conversations. If you don't know them, try to get to know them. Because sometimes one-on-one can work a miracle in God, in God's way. That love can soften their hearts. We're not trying, as I said, I am not trying to stir up anything. I am not angry. I am not trying to create strife, and I don't think you all are either. I'm trying to fix a problem. And this is the spirit that we need to come together on. Okay, so let's get in our groups, and I'll circulate around and talk to each of you individually, and it's 10:20, so you got till 10:30 to, and paper and pens are right here. You can use the choir books as clipboards. Okay, so superintendents, TASB,
So that wraps up our meeting right now, and we'll be shutting off.